Santa might have his workshop, but Thanksgiving has the Macy's Parade Studio, a 72,000 square foot warehouse where the creative minds behind the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade work year-round to conceptualize, design, and bring to life the 26 floats, 4,200 costumes, and 17 character balloons viewed by over 50 million people on Thanksgiving morning. Today we're giving you a look behind the scenes to see what happens in the week leading up to the main event. Plans start 1 year in advance, the day after Thanksgiving. The Parade Studio includes a team of 27 painters, sculptors, animators, carpenters, welders, costume designers, electricians, and engineers. Every new float and balloon starts with a pencil sketch, then a computer rendering, followed by clay models that are used to create a cast. From there, miniature exact scale replicas are created. Balloons get 2 models, one for technical patterning, and a secondary model is used for the color design. Balloon casts will also go through a water immersion process to determine the amount of helium needed, then pieces are cut, heat sealed, and finally painted while inflated to prevent cracking. Floats are constructed out of a variety of materials, but many of the sculptural pieces are carved out of giant blocks of styrofoam using hot wire. Leading up to the parade, the studio team goes through over 300 pounds of glitter, 240 gallons of paint, and 400 pounds of molding clay during their more than 50,000 hours of preparation. And obviously, they always have a few new surprises up their sleeve.
Well, today we have 5 brand new floats that'll be in the 2017 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, including a float with Green Giant that literally has a green giant sculpted on it in a beautiful valley of bountiful farm vegetables that are all coming in for the harvest. We have a float that we did with Sprout that's all about free to grow and free to play. It's literally a playground on top of the float with jungle gyms and bouncy balls and swings and a slide and towers to climb in. Sour Patch Kids, I don't know about these kids. I mean, they're sour, but then they're sweet. And the sour part is they're trying to hijack the Macy's parade. They've got a slingshot they've made with a giant thumbtack that they're trying to shoot at one of our balloons. And speaking of sweet, we have another float from Entenmann's that is everybody's favorite bake shop, where everybody can get their favorite. And there's kids peeking in the front window, looking at all of the goodies and thinking about, oh, which one do I want today? And speaking of kids, our last float that we have on display today is with Nickelodeon, Shimmer and Shine, those genies that do all of that wonderful magic in that wonderful world that has sparkling mountains and glittery gems and all kinds of wonderful things in the clouds. They're here with their own float in the clouds, with the mountain, with the rainbow waterfall, all put together. I'm John Piper. I'm Vice President of Macy's Studio, where all of the things that are in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade come to life.
The studio is equipped with a vast library of children's books for the studio's artists to reference. Although it takes a little creativity to convert the beloved 2D characters into a 3D figure, creativity is one thing this team has no shortage of.
You know, people ask me all the time, where do you get the ideas for new floats and balloons? We get them from the kids. And from the kids, we get some great ideas. Ideas about things that are brand new and exciting, things that are a little more nostalgic that we would like to bring back or do in a new creation. So it all comes from that child heart inside all of us. That's where the ideas come from. And then it's our job to bring them to life. There's a lot of geometry that we put into the Sprout float in terms of looking at making jungle gyms and climbing things with curves and squares that balanced in patterns, that we were working on patterns that were very childlike without being childish. The Green Giant float with the sculpt of the giant sculpt of the giant in the back, we used a lot of artistic elements, some of which go back to the Renaissance, of forced perspective, both in the sculptural size and in the painting.
It can take anywhere from 4 to 9 months to construct a single float. The parade studio works around the clock, 7 days a week in the months leading up to the parade. Although imagination runs wild in the magical warehouse, not every idea will make it into production.
So which things actually go into the parade is a very collaborative effort with each and every one of the floats are different, and each one of the balloons are different. And sometimes we can go right to it, and we have an idea that we flesh out, and boom, we're right there. And other times it takes a little more work, and there might be 3 different sketches, rough sketches that we go over, and then we kind of work back and forth with it, and it might be the development of something that comes from a couple of them together or something totally new. I've had floats and balloons that have, bam, been right there, right on the first idea, and other ones that took 5, 6, 7 sketches before we knew we really had it. You know, when we're working with our partners, there's input there. I have input, our design team, our creative vice president folds in on it. And then once we zero in on the design, that's not the end. From that point, it gets handed off to our production team, who still have to collaborate to develop that design and bring it to its highest, most potential. And that we set the bar pretty high, and we got to make sure that we get over it with each new thing that we do. With Shimmer and Shine, there were many, many sculptural components that all needed to have their own balance in various areas of the float and be incorporated together. And the animation that we had to put together on the Sour Patch float was very different. That float has a type of balloon on it. It's one of the first times we've ever put someone inside a balloon. So that was a little bit of a challenge. And then of the giant helium balloons that are flying, every one of them has their challenges. You know, Olaf trying to get those branch arms to look exactly right, which are very, very thin and small in a giant inflatable, is not easy. We also put extra effort into, he's not a white balloon. He's a balloon made of snow. So we actually created an entirely new paint that has glitter embedded in it, and he's painted with that. So he will glisten just like snow in the sunlight.
Once designed, built, and painted, the hardest part of parade prep may be transportation. The sometimes 40-foot by 28-foot floats have all been carefully designed to fold up into a mere 8 feet by 12 feet, just small enough to fit through the Lincoln Tunnel. Santa's Sleigh is the longest and tallest float in this year's parade, measuring 60 feet long and 3.5 stories tall.
The Green Giant sculpt, very challenging because it's a human form that has to be done very specifically, and in order to make that come apart so that it can fit through the Lincoln Tunnel, there was a significant amount of steel armature that had to be worked in, almost like a human skeleton. So there's a lot of engineering to dismantle, fold up, collapse, fold over, so that none of the floats end up more than 8.5 feet wide, 12.5 feet tall. Think of an RV. So all of these giant floats got to come down to that size and go through the Lincoln Tunnel all together in a giant convoy on Parade Eve.
Spectators look forward to seeing the new floats and balloons debut every year, with increasingly complex shows of technology and innovation. But there are a few crowd-pleasing classics that will always be incorporated into the moving stages.
We're investing in new technology every single year. Different forms, not just confetti, but different forms of confetti, different ways of launching confetti, different ways of incorporating confetti. Last year we incorporated a live waterfall into one of the floats. We have smoke effects happening on the Shimmer and Shine float, where out of the genie-like bottles is coming the smoke, but it's different colors. So all kinds of technologies are always being developed, and we're always looking for something new and different to add into it.
We've given you a look inside the studio, but before any new balloons can make their Thanksgiving debut, they make a pit stop here at Balloonfest for a test flight, where the flight management teams, including captains, pilots, and a few hundred handlers, have gathered outside of MetLife Stadium to work out the kinks before the big day. Leading up to the parade, handlers will attend a balloon handling 101 class, Pilots will undergo field and classroom training, and new balloons will go through a number of test flights with varying wind speeds to make sure they are properly balanced. Balloonfest is the first time new balloons will take flight alongside their Thanksgiving Day crew. The 4 giant characters hitting the test track this year are Olaf from Disney's Frozen, Dr. Seuss's The Grinch, Chase from Paw Patrol, and Jet from Super Wings. This year also marks the 70th anniversary of the holiday film Miracle on 34th Street. In honor of the 1947 classic, Harold the baseball player will come out of retirement for this year's parade, painted in hues of black, white, and gray, exactly as he appeared in the original black and white film.
Look at that big baseball player.
He was a clown last year. They just painted him different.
2 of the newcomers here today take the titles for height and width. Olaf is the tallest balloon in the parade at 60 feet, and Jet takes the title of widest, spanning 39 feet. His wingspan is equal to the size of an actual Learjet. Each balloon takes an average of 90 minutes to fill up and contains approximately 12,000 cubic feet of helium, which is capable of lifting nearly 750 pounds. If you're not sure what that means, it's equivalent to filling over 12,000 basketballs. Each balloon has a flight management team that consists of a pilot, 2 co-pilots, a captain, 2 assistant captains, and a team in charge of steering the vehicle the balloon is attached to. Think balloon pilot might be the job for you? Get ready to walk the entire 2.5-mile parade route backwards.
The first year I was a pilot, I didn't know what to expect, and I did walk backwards 2.5 miles. The next morning, my calves were so tight I almost couldn't walk down a curb. So the next year I thought, I'm gonna beat this. So I walked around backwards in my neighborhood for about a week before parade day. I swear my neighbors thought I was crazy. I'm Kathy Kramer. I am a balloon pilot for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and this is my balloon, Olaf.
The balloons are made of a special non-porous balloon fabric. Different parts of the design are constructed as separate chambers, so a single puncture or tear doesn't take the whole balloon down. Each balloon requires up to 90 handlers, and each handler must weigh a minimum of 120 pounds. Think you have what it takes to take on the coveted position? The rules are simple.
You need to either be a Macy's employee or be sponsored by a Macy's employee. You need to be over 125 pounds and physically fit to do it. You have to fill out a whole medical application to be a balloon handler. My name is Michael Gerisi, and this will be my 34th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Making the cut is only half the battle. Special training is required to prepare handlers to control and steer the larger-than-life airborne characters through a crowd of 3.5 million spectators lining the parade route.
We have 6 trainings throughout the year, so you learn to follow the pilot. The pilot will fly the balloon for you as long as you follow the pilot. You learn how to hold the dog bone, which is the item that holds down the balloon that the lines are tied to, and the part the wind plays in the parade is very important, and the pilot has the guidelines of how high and low the balloon could fly within the wind speeds, and they really tell you how high you should hold the balloon to the handles.
So if I want to raise the balloon, I will give them indications to take the balloon up a number of times or to bring the balloon down. And when they see me do this, it means reel in your line, bring the balloon down. Sometimes when the wind is blowing from one side, we'll move the balloon into another upwind, so I'll move them over, or when we're coming around a corner, I want them to swing wide or swing left.
Balloon pilots keep everything moving along safely during the parade route, but there's one thing you just can't control: Mother Nature.
There's this 4-letter word that we have that we don't like to say, because if you say it, it might happen. We like rain, or we can tolerate rain. We can tolerate sun. We love sun. We can even tolerate snow. It's the WIND word that we don't like because it really can play havoc with the balloon. With that said, we know how to fly the balloon in certain conditions where the wind is either high or low. It dictates how high we fly, and it dictates how close we might fly depending on to the building or the park, depending on the wind conditions. Sometimes we also have tree limbs that stick out or construction scaffolding, and we know we'll see those coming, and we'll move the balloon into a place so that we can safely get around that condition. A couple times a year we get together, either both in the field, out like we are today, flying the balloons, and in classroom. We learn about how the balloon should fly, what everyone's role is, how to make the team communicate and get together so that we can, one, fly it safely and then also fly it correctly.
Although practice days like Balloonfest help the 2,000 handlers hone their new skills, Nothing can really simulate the surrealness of participating in one of the country's most viewed televised events.
You get up at 5 a.m., you're at the parade by 6 a.m., and it's all about the anticipation of them calling your balloon into the parade. You're waiting for about an hour before the parade starts, and when you join the parade, it's 1 million people cheering and screaming at you down the entire parade route. You forget about everything that is going on except being in the parade route.
But whether you're a balloon pilot or a balloon handler, being a part of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will undoubtedly come with some unforgettable moments.
Well, my most memorable moment was actually many years ago when I was a balloon handler on the Woody Woodpecker balloon. Woody Woodpecker was a straight-up flyer, but when he was inflated, he's inflated on his back. He was inflated on his back with his mouth wide open on a rainy night. So by the time we got to be under the balloon on parade morning and we stood him up, the rain cascaded out of his mouth right down on everyone's head. It was very shocking, very surprising, but truly my most memorable parade morning moment.
It actually was my first parade. It was raining, it was cold. I was wearing a Woody Woodpecker costume with a Woody Woodpecker hat. I swore I would never do it again. We literally turned the parade route and everybody started screaming and cheering, and it was the best experience of my life.
The 4 new balloons will be making their Thanksgiving debut this year, and if you want to be a part of the holiday prep, you can watch the parade staff inflate the balloons outside of the American Museum of Natural History on Thanksgiving Eve. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hip hooray, today's the day. It's the day for the big parade from Macy.